Hello, that's enough. Hello, and thank you, Julia. As I follow Julia, I just want to say a few words about crowd justice. It is just an incredible movement, and it's really allowing the kinds of cases to get to court that they really would prefer don't get to court, or certainly don't get to court with an independent legal team. So it's really giving a voice to people's cases, and not just a voice, a way for them to be litigated properly. I'm Chris, I'm a whistleblower, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story very quickly. Now, I couldn't have imagined 4 years ago raising a safety concern would have led me down the road it has over the last 4 years. I've been discussed in Parliament, I've been invited onto the News at 10, and I've had a crowd-funded Court of Appeal case. And I would never have imagined me ever in my life being the subject of a Daily Mail article. Not all of, and it's been an incredible ride, but I just want to acknowledge that people like me get crushed, and the only reason I haven't been crushed is because I've had fantastic lawyers and fantastic crowdfunders that have given me more than money. You know, they've taken an ownership of the sorts of things that we've done, and that is the only reason that I'm probably here speaking to you and telling you about it. That said, imagine this: you are a junior doctor and you're working a night shift and you feel you need to raise a safety concern. Now, this isn't an insignificant safety concern. You are an intensive care unit doctor, you're the most senior intensive care unit doctor on site, and your concern is about staffing, about a unit that doesn't even come close to adhering to national staffing standards, and has 2 serious incidents involving the deaths of patients associated with that fact. So you raise that concern, and now instead of dealing with that concern, 2 NHS bodies team up to make a load of allegations against you to make it seem less likely for anyone to listen to a word that you say. That works and causes a messy employment dispute which ends your career. Now that's not a great place to be, I can assure you. But then you go to your union, you explain the situation, you present all your evidence, and they go, right, not really knowing what whistleblowing is, thinking Edward Snowden when you say whistleblowing rather than anything else, and they tell you you've got to do whistleblowing claims. The case is merits assessed, and then they engage lawyers for you. And then suddenly, 5 days before a deadline, they withdraw from the case. And certain documents get destroyed, or lost, as they like to say, and then you find that your BMA rep gets lost also. Undeterred, you find a law firm that's probably suffered with me, Tim Johnson Law, and within 5 days we managed to present a whistleblowing claim to the London Self-Employment Tribunal. So you can imagine this 6-month wait, you're psyching yourself up, you're doing A&E locums to keep your family afloat, to pay the mortgage, and then the big day comes and you're ready to go, right, I'm going to explain to the judge about my safety concerns, and I'm going to explain to the judge about my whistleblowing detriments. And then instead of engaging with the facts, the NHS spends a load of money arguing me and all junior doctors out of whistleblowing protection, and that's agreed with the judge, and then the case is chucked out and it's not being heard. Now that is pretty bad. That's a pretty bad addition to my situation. And what gets worse about it is that the union and the greater good of the medical establishment then spin that as me losing the case. Dodgy doctor, weak case, that's why it got chucked out. I cannot begin to tell you what that's like. That's 3 separate things all at the same time. Not even getting the case heard. But all I can really do for all of this is sort of lay out the facts for you to make your own mind up. My wife's here, I can't tell you what that's like. And Adam has done an amazing insight into the issues in our profession. I could never do that, and I'm not even going to try. How did they do it? So what they did was they spent £100,000 blowing a hole in whistleblowing law. And they did this 3 ways. They used legally flawed arguments that actually undermine the law, not only for junior doctors, but for agency workers. They misrepresented Parliament's clearly stated intention for whistleblowing law. And then they kept the contract out of disclosure that they should have disclosed to the Employment Tribunal, the Employment Appeals Tribunal, and the Court of Appeal. So that sounds serious. It's a serious allegation saying misrepresenting Parliament's intention. Well, you can see on that transcript, on the news media coverage of what they argued in court. And it says in the news statements, part of what the HE barrister said, Parliament has chosen not to increase the scope of the legislation to protect those who are trained as doctors. As clear as day was what they submitted. And then if you go over to the transcript from Hansard in the House, when whistleblowing law was coming into statute, it says it covers individuals such as trainees, home workers and professionals in the NHS, and are not usually covered by employment law. This all happened in the middle of the junior doctors dispute. So 2015, as Adam was suggesting, junior doctors were getting a tough press, in it for the money, no one really understanding their message. What a gift a situation like this would have been. The government arguing every junior doctor in the country out of whistleblowing protection to stop a case about a PFI hospital that's understaffed coming to court. That would be gold dust if you were a trade union. But what the BMA, instead of using this opportunity to illustrate the real issues at stake, they decided to represent the government position of denying the problem. Now the grassroots movement that you see represented today smelt a rat. They saw that this gap in the law was clearly described in a judgment, and that started to be a focus of our crowdfunding campaign. We were able to get £240,000 from 4,000 individuals to challenge this. But more widely, during the junior doctors dispute, they saw the problem, junior doctors I think saw the problem expanding past whistleblowing protection, and they saw this organisation, HEE, with all this power, all this de facto employment power, able to get out of employment law and any kind of accountability. And Lord Justice Elias in the Court of Appeals summarises it beautifully when he describes me, the HE position in my case. It wasn't engaging with the facts, it was simply saying this: if what Dr. Day says is true about safety and whistleblowing detriment, it doesn't matter because we're not covered by the law. What a terrible thing for an NHS organisation to submit. And not just submit, expensively, at the taxpayer's expense, to the tune of £200,000, according to Justice Matters MP in Parliament yesterday when they debated it. So this is the fruit. Julia Salaski's crowd justice, 4,000 backers, we delivered a victory in the Court of Appeal that exposed this gap in the law. We were joined in the Court of Appeal by the charity Public Concern at Work, and these transcripts showing exactly what Parliament clearly stated for whistleblowing were shown to the judge, and the HE case fell apart in the Court of Appeal. Now, this was England v Panama, not England v Sweden. But that wasn't enough for the BMA. Their response was to deny the precedent set in the second highest court in the country. Astonishingly, that wasn't enough also for HE, and they continued past losing in the Court of Appeal to still argue that I wasn't covered by whistleblowing law and the case couldn't be heard, which was ludicrous given the victory in the Court of Appeal. It got to the stage where we exchanged witness statements. We were prepared to put a BMA deputy chair on the witness box, and then it was the shortest preliminary hearing in the history of preliminary hearings, and it settled. The 4-day hearing turned into barely an hour, and I was awarded £55,000 worth of costs. Now, this really does show what they were up to with this case, and it's really the theme of what this event is about: junior doctors getting heard, and the fact that the medical establishment would attempt something like this and be not just attempt it, be confident that they would get away with it, is the thing to take from all of this. I mean, it's not really about me. If there's one thing I would like to communicate, it's that. And it was finally discussed yesterday in Parliament, and those were the sorts of things that Justin Manners was saying. He was questioning why HE would spend 4 years undermining whistleblowing law. And he remarked how astonishing the HE quote was in their statement on the day that they lost an employment tribunal, saying that they felt they'd done nothing. Their only aim through all of this was to do nothing to facilitate whistleblowing protection for all junior doctors. This is what this is about, and this is, for me, a lot of these crowd justice cases. I'm purposely not going to discuss the Dr. Baragaba case. I feel very, very strongly about it. I'm part of Team Hadiza. But scapegoating a junior doctor and the NHS whistleblowing protection, for me, they're different things, but at the essence they have the same thing, and it's about shifting the focus of system failures and the decisions of leaders onto the shoulders of an individual and focusing on a narrative about that individual. So the conversation focuses on whether the scapegoat or the whistleblower is a goodie or baddie, and then they hope you forget what it's really about. The understaffed ICU, the understaffed paediatric unit, ACOs taking the duty of care from the Secretary of State away. All that kind of thing they don't want to be the focus, and scapegoating and whistleblowing is an excellent tool for that. I was just going to end with this. Junior doctors, they have a powerful voice, and I don't think they know it. I think people are much more likely to want to listen to doctors than politicians and NHS managers about the NHS. But with that comes very real attempts to silence doctors or to distort what they say, either as an individual or corporately, as we've seen in the junior doctors dispute.